Loyalty, hard work, patience. Does that describe you?
Loyalty.
Hard work, patience, fairness, dedication.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
Gary Oldman is a Hufflepuff, everybody. It's official.
I'm a Hufflepuff. What is it again? A Hufflepuff. I'm in the bloody movies and I can't. What is? I'm a Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Today we have one of the all-time greats. Mr. Gary Oldman is back on the podcast where he belongs, and it is an epic night in Los Angeles to share with all of you. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys, for watching, for listening, however you're enjoying this episode of Happy, Sad, Confused. Before we get to the main event, which is a really, really cool one, Gary Oldman, we don't have any upcoming events yet to announce. Stuff is always on the horizon, more to come. Watch this space, and more importantly, check out our Patreon, because that's where we put up all our announcements first, and we have discount codes and merch and all that kind of fun stuff. Patreon.com/Happy Sad Confused is your home for all things Happy Sad Confused. We just put out a big shipment of autographed posters for some of our wonderful patrons. So if you're interested in getting that kind of stuff and just more of what I do over here, check it out right now. Okay, so we're just going to get right to it. The main event this week is Gary Oldman, taped live in Los Angeles at the beautiful Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills. You guys have heard me talking about wanting to go back to LA for a while. We did an event over a year ago with Tom Hiddleston at the same theater, sold it out then, and we really wrestled with who to get, when to get them, had to all line up. 1,000 different things need to line up in the right way, and somehow this one came together, and I'm so happy, relieved, thrilled, all the emotions that this one turned out as well as it did. I don't want to overhype this, but this is really one of the best episodes I think we've had of Happy, Sad, Confused. And that's saying a lot, because the last episode with Gary Oldman, I think, was one of our all-time best. And this one certainly sits on the shelf with that one. He is, of course, a legend for 1,000 different reasons, whether you love him from True Romance, the Batman films, Harry Potter films, The Professional, his Oscar-winning turn in The Darkest Hour. The man means so much to film fans, to actors, and now to see him in this latest stage of his career doing so many cool things. So he has just come off the stage. We talk about this, his return to theater. After 37 years, he had not been on a stage, and returned back in the UK to do a play of Beckett's. He talks a lot about that in this one. But he's also, of course, going strong in Slow Horses, which is now entering its 5th season. It actually announced its 5th season's premiere date the day we taped this in Los Angeles. It is September 24th, so mark your calendars. He earned an Emmy nomination for the role of Jackson Lamb last year. Hopefully he'll get one again this year. Maybe he'll win. He's the best. He truly is the best. And to hear him tell these stories in such a humble, fun way was just a delight. His family was there. His children were there. His wife was there. His manager, an agent. That meant, honestly, a great deal to me, that it felt like the Oldman gang all came out to support and just wanted to hear him tell stories in this way. So, yeah. I said I didn't want to overhype it. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but you're not going to be disappointed. So many great stories in this. We hit upon a lot of aspects of his career. Plus, it's a very, very funny conversation. There are a ton of laughs in this. Stay tuned for the Harry Potter portion of this is epic. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say that now. The TIPTOES portion of this, if you know, you know. TIPTOES, folks. I don't think Gary Oldman's ever talked about TIPTOES. Certainly not to this extent. A Happy, Sad, Confused exclusive. So thank you to everyone that came out in Los Angeles. We sold it out again, 400 strong at the Fine Arts Theater. We will be back in Los Angeles doing more. We're already talking about other events, and hopefully bring Happy, Sad, Confused to other cities around the country and perhaps the world. We'll see. All right, here we go. Main event. I'm taking you now to the stage of the Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills with me and Gary Oldman. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Hi. Welcome. Hello, Los Angeles. It's been too long. My name's Josh Horowitz. Welcome to a live taping of Happy, Sad, Confused, my beloved podcast. Thank you so much for being here, guys. This is so meaningful for me. I do a lot of these live events in New York, but very rarely do we get to do this in LA. About a year ago, we sold out this theater for the great Tom Hiddleston, and now we are back, and you guys have sold it out once again. Give yourselves some applause. I am with 400 Gary Oldman obsessives, just like myself, so welcome. This is going to be such a fun night. You guys just saw an amazing, just 1 minute of a remarkable career. We all love and adore what Gary Oldman has contributed to screens, big and small. I don't need to list his amazing accomplishments. He's won every award under the sun, and well-deservedly so. From Dracula, Stansfield, Winston Churchill, and in recent years, adding to the canon in Slow Horses, everybody, Jackson Lamb. Come on. And we're also talking to him on a very special day. It's just been announced, September 24th. Slow Horses is coming back for a new season, guys. Good timing. And if that weren't enough, Mr. Oldman has just returned to the stage after decades. He just wrapped up an amazing run in York, and so there's a lot to talk about, needless to say. Are you ready for this? All right, guys. Thank you again for coming out. Please give it up for the one and only, the legend, Mr. Gary Oldman, everybody. That's nice.
Lovely crowd.
Gary, thanks so much for doing this again.
You're welcome. Nice to see you again.
It's good to see you. We've had a couple conversations. The beauty of Gary Oldman, though, is we could have 10 more of these, and we're just going to scratch the surface of your amazing career. You've given us a great gift, sir. Can we start with the play? You just came off stage in York.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did theater work, Gary Oldman?
37 years ago. Yeah.
So had you been noodling on this for a while? Had you been thinking about getting back
Well,
on stage?
I've always, I've often flirted with the idea of returning to the stage. Constantly, I read plays, I think about the theatre, and that's sort of where I started and where I came from. So I did 8, 9, 10 years of theatre. And I was very fortunate in the beginning. I would do a film and a play, and a film and a play. So I did Sid and Nancy, and then I did a play. We did maybe a couple of plays. Then I did Prick Up Your Ears, and then I came back and did a play. And so it would work like that. So I was never very far away from the theatre. And then my career started to take off, and I just got kidnapped. But the films, and then 10 years go by, and then 15, and then 20 years, and then someone will say, when did you last do a play? And then you think and you go, my God, it's 25 years, 30 years. And then you get to a point where you think, I'm never going to be able to do it. It's been too long. Anyway, I decided to do this play, went and had a ball. I loved it.
We should mention this was just you on stage. This is Beckett. This is directed it. You went back to York where you started.
Yeah.
So this is, you did it right. You did it in a very interesting, special way.
There's the usual suspects, when you're going to return to the stage, and then you think, well, it's New York or it's London or it's the West End, and I thought it would be a nice thing to really give back to the place where I started. So in 1979, I went to York Theatre Royal, and made my professional public debut on that stage. And so I thought it would be a nice thing to go back and return to where it all began. And there's a lot of people that sort of talk about promoting provisional theatre, but they don't.
Right. The actual way to do it is to bring it to.
Is to take it there. Yeah. So it was lovely it was nice for the theatre and the community in York. So it was very special, and a lot of my family who are here tonight, they came over and saw it. Yeah. And I've got the taste. I'll do more now.
Please.
Yeah. I got the flavour.
You got a New Yorker here, so I'd love to see you come by anytime. Open invitation, whatever you want.
All right. Lovely.
Have you ever experienced anything like stage fright back in the day or to this day on a set? Is there anything analogous to that for you?
Yeah, I had stage fright on Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Yeah.
Once you got on set, it started.
Oh, no, once I got on set, I was okay. It was the build-up to it. I'd never really experienced it. I mean, in York, after 37 years, I was actually chomping at the bit to do it, and you, I don't know whether it's nerves or adrenaline or whatever. It's excitement.
Right.
There's a difference between being paralyzed with fear and which stage fright is really in a sense, and there's a difference between that and just being energized and excited to get out there.
And which was it on Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy that you experienced?
It was bone crushing. I wouldn't want to experience it again. It was. I think what had happened with it is that most of the time, most of the roles I've played, I've gone to sort of kicking and screaming.
Right.
And, I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that, or they should cast someone else, or, I could think of another actor who could play that role, and why are they thinking of me? And all of these sort of, the usual sort of insecurities and things that one sort of goes through, and I guess in a way you make an obstacle. You have to put an obstacle up, because I've got to cause some drama. And make it even. I've got to make it more challenging and more difficult for myself. So a lot of the roles I've played have been roles that I've turned down and then have come back. So my process is turning something down. I think that's how I work.
And then your process is regretting it afterwards and saying, I didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. Yeah. So you can't win. But,
so the only happy times in the middle, basically.
But I think what happened with Tinker Tailor, I really did feel that this time I'd get found out. That because you're always waiting for the tap on the shoulder, you're actually.
Thanks for trying. You can go back home now.
Yeah, you're a fraud.
Right.
And Alec Guinness had such a huge success with it, and was to many, and probably still is, the definitive Smiley. And the ghost of Guinness really, it got into me. Right. It got inside my head, and I thought, I am really going to be found out, and I'm going to fail miserably at this. And what have I done? I've said yes to this thing, And now I'm up against this legendary performance that I will invariably, undoubtedly be compared to. You know, so you're really sort of out on the wire with it. And it got to me to the point where I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I was in cold sweats. It was really quite terrifying. And then my producing partner over there, Doug, actually came to the set with me on the first day. And I was so uptight that I said to him for the first shot, the very first scene, which was actually with Tom Hardy, pretty good place to start.
Yep.
And I said to Doug, don't come to the set. Let me go down on my own.
No one needs to see this.
No, please don't. And actually, I got on the set, and I looked around and I thought, oh, I know where I am. What sort of fuss about? Like, and it evaporated. It just sort of left me. So there was this enormous build-up to the point where I actually, at one point, considered not doing it and getting out of it. Now, obviously, I was deep in it, and they were already shooting, and and it was my day on set was less than a week away, but it had crossed my mind that I need to just get on a plane and get out of here. You know, it's you asked me about it.
Yeah. No. That's what I wanted to hear. This is why I love talking to you, because not only are you the best actor on the planet, but you have such anxiety about it all that it's so relatable. I want a genius that is neurotic at the same time. That's what you're my sweet spot, Gary.
Well, you gotta. I mean, it's all. You jump, and sometimes it's, you know, there's a lot of mediocre shit. You know, you can't. You know, there's a couple of good ones. There's a couple of good ones.
Okay, we're gonna get there. I would presume by now you feel very at home. It is a warm bath to be on the set of Slow Horses. This is your happy place. This show we've talked about before, you kind of helped manifest this with Doug. This happened. This is kind of a miracle of the show. By now, in season 5 and beyond, what does it feel like to be on the set of Slow Horses as Jackson Lamb for you?
Oh, it's like being. It's like being home, like being at home. Yeah, and in terms of the people on the show, not only I think is the writing very good, or the work is of a pedigree that's very good, and Lamb is a delicious, wonderful character. But what has made it all the more special, and a highlight, I would say, really a highlight of my career, are the people. Now we have the announcement of 5 coming out, so now we have season 5 soon to arrive. Makeup, hair, crew, down to clapper loader, if such a thing exists anymore. Camera operator, scenic painters. I mean, across the board, the people are absolutely just magic. There's not a wrong un in the bunch, and the actors are just beautiful people, very talented and lovely to work with. So in that respect, it has been. I feel incredibly lucky. I just turned 67. Looking good, man, looking good. I've just turned 67, and I feel incredibly blessed that almost everything in my life right now is the best it's been. And with my family and my wife and the kids that grown up and the good kids, which is the biggest accomplishment, I think. And it's so to land this role in this series with these people, it's just phenomenal.
What does it mean to be number one on the call sheet for you? You've been the lead in many a project, but to be number one on Slow Horses, what do you want to kind of imbue into that set?
You get a very good table at restaurants.
Priorities, I get it.
Yeah, and they treat you nice at the airport.
But you've been on sets where the number one probably hasn't been a great human being, that has set a vibe that wasn't fantastic, and you've been number one yourself. I guess what's important for you in kind of how to, spread a good vibe on a set of Slow Horses?
Well, I think partly I'm naturally curious, so I take an interest in what people are doing in any one given department. I'm working with younger people who are fantastic, but you've got to, if you're I don't know if you call it leadership, but if you are number one, then know the lines, know what you're doing, having done your work, get there early. All of those things I think are important, and then that work ethic or attitude then will permeate down through just the cast, and having respect for what the other people are doing. It isn't just about you. And sometimes actors, not that I particularly work with I haven't really worked with real divas as such. I've worked with some interesting directors. But they're a whole different species. But I haven't worked with anyone that crazy as an actor. But it's showing an interest and a respect for what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But you just get some actors and you think it's all about me, or their method, quote unquote, and then somehow that they make it all about them.
Suck up all the energy. It's about you. Yeah.
And it's a collaborative art form, and it has many moving parts, and you are just one part of it. Yes, at the end of the day, you're the face, let's say, up there on the screen, but there's a lot of people and a lot of work that go to achieving that end result. But I've always liked the crew. I've never been one for disappearing in the trailer.
Right. Setting up boundaries. As you said, we're all in this together. Your job is pretty damn important too. If you're on set, your job is important to creating what we're creating.
Yeah, and I know that some days they're dragging you out of the makeup chair because the camera's ready and they're up against it. I get it, but sometimes they're under the impression that your process in the makeup chair will not take as long as it usually takes because the camera's ready. And you go, no,
Magic how that works. Yeah.
yeah, no, the process is the same, whether the camera's ready or not. And then, so you've got to be the 300-pound gorilla, or the person that says, no, the makeup person needs the time, because it still takes the time it takes, regardless of whether you want to shave half an hour off it and your camera's ready. You know, you've got to be. It's benign dictatorship. I don't know. It's you've got to be the leader, but you got to be sensitive to the people. It's interesting.
You talk about makeup. I mean, there is like a karmic balance that has been achieved by your portraying Jackson Lamb after so many roles that required so much prosthetics. And obviously, there's still a lot of makeup and important stuff to do to transform you into Jackson. But it's not Churchill. It's not Dracula. It's not this kind of thing. Do you still do? What was that? There it is.
I spent a lot of money doing that. That's 5 seasons.
I do feel like we have to let the casting directors know that you don't look like Jackson Lamb. You look like you can clean yourself up. You can be the leading man, the romantic hero.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to make sure you got work after Slow Horses. They don't pigeonhole you.
Yeah, well, it's going to end, isn't it? So
Don't break our hearts.
No, it'll end at some point. So, of course I did. What happened was I did Mank, and I like Mank. I think that's a good flick, and I put on a few pounds for Mank, and then this followed hard upon. And he's an alcoholic. He eats badly. He doesn't bathe much. He's, all of those things. And he's a smoker. He's a drinker. Doesn't exercise. Eats all the wrong food. And I thought, well, why don't I just throw on a few more pounds? As hard as it is, it's so hard.
Everybody, feel for Gary.
All those French fries and those hamburgers. It's so hard. And that chocolate cake and ice cream. Pasta, it's just... Anyway.
I'm seeing you in your happy place. Like, I see you.
So I thought, well, I'll pack on a few more pounds, and that'd be good,
Maybe you should do Churchill now. Just keep going the other direction. Just like...
do the whole thing with Stalin and Roosevelt, follow it up with that. Anyway, but of course, when you get to a certain age, it's, I'm thinking of doing this chair yoga. Have you seen this chair yoga?
Go on.
Well, you can exercise, but you get to sit down. I love the idea of that.
You can come out with your own instructional video. It's going to be your career.
No, but,
Gary Oldman's chair yoga. I'd buy it.
But you get to a certain age, and then you can't lose it. You can't lose it as easily as you used to be, when you were younger. Yeah.
I don't like the nod you gave me, like you know. What you were saying, Josh, you know. Can you tell by now when a fan approaches what they're going to talk to you about? Like, do you have a read on all right, I think I know what kind of conversation we're about to have?
Yeah. Fifth Element. I know it's going to be either the Fifth Element, The Professional. Yeah. What's the other one that's really What's the other one that's
You were in Harry Potter, maybe that comes up. Yeah.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
and Batman. Yeah, so I get.
Has anyone ever screamed everyone at
Yeah.
you in public?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like that must be startling. Or do they ask to audition for you?
It's what's strange is that it's become this sort of iconic kind of line. This, and it was all done as a joke. And that was the thing. I played the scene, and then I thought I had a relationship with Luc. Luc Besson was this kind of mad in a way. I mean, we were shooting on film, and then he would say to me, "Okay, do the scene again, but now do it as Robert De Niro, or do it as," and he would shoot it for kicks, and his archive.
Right.
So we had a fun kind of relationship, and I went to the sound guy. I said to Luke, "I just want to do one more. Let me do one more." And I went to the sound guy, and they said, "I'm going to be really loud, so be careful, and bring me everyone like that." And I just did it as a joke to make Luke laugh. There was no.
Were you upset when you found out it was in the film? That you're like,
I was a little shocked when I saw it in the film. Yeah.
yeah.
It was just me fooling around with intensity, with feeling. I did it with
Once more with feeling, Gary. Yeah.
yeah, but and yet it's become this line now. Yeah.
Do you have? I apologize. I know we do greatest hits, and I'm trying to I need to hit some of these points because I love these films. Bram Stoker's Dracula. The challenge of that film was. Did you feel the pressure on that? I mean, that was a big film. That was a much anticipated film. It's Coppola, who I know you revere. Did you feel the pressure at the time of carrying that weight of that film?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. The writer of Dracula is here tonight, Mr. Hart. Where are you?
James
There
Hart.
he
Jim
is.
Hart. Oh my gosh! Wow, that's amazing. We're gonna talk Hook later too. Come on up. This guy's a great screenwriter. Amazing.
No, I didn't feel. I mean, everyone in the world and its mother had played Dracula, but I felt. Well, let's put it this way: I didn't need to play Dracula,
We've seen some great Draculas.
and it never even been on my radar to do it or even consider it, think about it. But it was Coppola, and I thought that he would do something very interesting with it. And so I felt carried. I didn't feel that, I'm up against Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee, and I felt safe. I felt carried by the master, Coppola, and he was going to do something. I think he was going to do something interesting with it. And to Jim's credit, the script was beautiful, and it's different. We were looking at it. We were looking at this very old story, familiar story, from just a different angle, different perspective.
Did you have a favorite? I mean, part of the fun of that film for you as an actor, I would imagine, outside of the prosthetics, which must have been quite daunting, but you get to play him as this kind of romantic warrior in that opening prologue, as the almost like this rock star Dracula walking around London, this full-on beast of a monster. Did you have a favorite incarnation of Dracula you got to do?
The older Dracula.
In the castle when he
I like the sort of I liked his vibe. Mr. Hark. Yeah. But I got to say, I was telling this story a few hours ago. I remember exactly where I was when I read the script. And I was in the trailer in a lunch break, or an extended lunch break, on JFK. And I was about to read the script and audition for Francis. And the thing I remember most vividly was I've crossed oceans of time to find you.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, I'd really like to say that line. Isn't it like, wouldn't you like to say that to someone? you know?
Yeah.
So that was the thing, the zinger. And I had an instinct or feeling for it, but I could hear the voice, but as yet could not physically do it. But I heard that voice of Dracula. And then went away and worked on it and tried to physically achieve the sound that I'd heard in my head.
Did what eventually come out? Is that what was in your head? What you arrived at?
Yeah, that just yeah. That's I can't even do it now. I mean, I've worked on it. I've worked on it for a very long time. I worked with an opera singer on the sound, and I tried to lower my voice by almost an octave. Yeah, but it was just working for him. That was as you get older, for me, it's the experience, right. It's the journey and not the end result. When you're younger, you're desperate for something to be good because you want people to see it and then it'll lead to the next part, or you think, oh, well, I hope it's good because then I'll get
to this next level. Like
I'm going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think as you get older, it's about. I'm happy that Slow Horses has become a success, and as long as Apple keep writing the checks and keep, and people want to see the show, then we'll keep making it, But what I've enjoyed, what I take away from it the most is being there in the moment on the set with those people. And I think Dracula was, I can't remember, maybe it had a mixed reception, I'm not sure. I think it was, it may be 50-50 or 60-40. Yeah. But what I take away from it is having the opportunity to work with Coppola, who is arguably, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, living American director. I just think when you look at the work, if someone said to you, what are your 10 best movies? If you had to make a list of your 10 best movies, I think 3 of them on my list would be Coppola.
2 Godfathers and a Conversation. Apocalypse Now.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
Or that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about, you've obviously collaborated a lot with Christopher Nolan. Talk to me a little bit about what inspired your Jim Gordon. Did Chris offer
Jet
up?
lag.
Unexpected, but I'll take it.
Well, we went back to the comic books. Going back to it as Chris wanted to, and infuse it with some a spirit of the comic book, of the original story, and a bit of realism, a bit of something. It had got to. I think Batman at that point had got to a point that was.
There was Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. We had gone too far. We went too far.
Yeah, it was really ridiculous. And so, but what happened was there's a sort of, you're a policeman who is sort of up against it, and your best efforts can't corral the chaos.
Right.
So there's a world weariness to Jim Gordon, and things are at home. If you follow the legend or the so for the first Batman, I was living here in Los Angeles. I was a single dad, and I didn't really want to leave the kids for too long. But the first Batman was shooting in England, in London, which was doubling as Gotham. They did a pretty good job.
I'd say, yeah.
They did a pretty good job. So we're shooting in England, and I said to Chris, would it be okay, I'll fly in, I'll shoot, and then fly back. And if there's anything back then, well, Chris now, he still shoots on film, but back then it was on film. And I said, if there's anything wrong with the dailies, or there's a scratch on the neck, or you know where I am, I'll be in the car on my way to the airport, and I'll just turn around and come back. But, if everything's cool, you know where I'll be. I'll get in the car, I'll go to the airport, I'll fly home, and then I'll see you Thursday or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think I ended up doing 27 round trips on the first Batman.
Got platinum status on they're on a post. Yeah.
United Airways. And so I'd go home for 2 days, see the kids, fly back, work 3 days, go home, be home for 3 days. I'd fly to London and do one shot, and then get on the plane the next morning and come back.
So real jet lag helped the world weariness, basically.
And this was, I'm being silly, but there's a sort of a world weariness to him, and so I embraced the feeling that you have when you're going back and forth, or you've been on a long flight. I just thought I can actually use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
And so
it worked out. Yeah.
But the scripts are, this is the thing when people ask you about doing research or working outside of the script. If you're working with good writing, the psychology of it, emotional, it's in the script. And it's a map of the world. It's a map of your world that you're going to inhabit, whether it's Dracula or Slow Horses, yeah. So when you're working with really, really good writing, it's all there for you. It's in the text. And so I don't always feel such a need to go beyond what is there. If the writing, when you start breaking a sweat, and then and I've done a few of those, you're working far too hard, and you're thinking, I'm trying to sort of, and you're in a situation where you're trying to elevate the text. You're working to lift it, whereas good writing, you're surfing it. That's the best way I think I can it can describe it.
Must be a nice feeling when it feels like
and you instinctively you know that you're working with someone who knows what they're doing as a writer, and then of course the fun part of it is that for something like Darkest Hour, there's 100 books you can read, there's tons of footage, and then that plays to your advantage because it's there, and you're also playing someone who is incredibly iconic.
Yeah.
That I mean, he knew about marketing and all of that long before it was a thing. With the silhouette of the Homburg and the cigar, and you just look at that image and you go, it's Churchill.
Yeah.
He knew about self-promotion. So that's a happy accident in a way. You land a role like that, and it just so happens to come with all these supplements. And you go, well, there's this book, and there's this, and there's this documentary, and
right.
and so that's part of it. But you can't beat good writing. That's the thing, and you don't then. I personally don't preconceive. You have a feeling about it, and you go in not knowing if you'll be able to even do it. It could be disastrous. You could fail, but you go in and then let instinct for me anyway. I think
Right.
it's all about, ultimately it's about instinct. It's intuition. I think you can hone intuition and instinct, but you can't teach it and give it to someone. You can learn voice, you can learn movement, you can learn how to sword fight, you can learn kung fu, you can learn many things, and you can work in acting class and work on text. But instinct is...
Well, because that's what's going to serve you on set. You can do all your homework, you can create the greatest performance in your living room, but until you have the variables of a live set and your co-stars, it's not going to be truly...
Well, you could... if you want, you could go and learn about the history of Denmark. and then... on the opening night, you're going to stand there and say to be or not to be. And I don't know if your history of Denmark's going to help you. To be honest.
Probably not. Probably not. There will not be a quiz at the end of the evening. The last time we chatted about Harry Potter and I asked you about Sirius, you said your work was mediocre and the internet really reacted. So since then, I've talked to Dan Radcliffe, and he said on his last day of shooting with you, you came up to him and said, was I a good Sirius? Like you asked him, did I do the job?
Sounds like me, yeah.
Is that part and parcel? Was that unique to that role, or is that something that often happens at the end of the
I'll
shoot?
do that. I'll do that. I won an Oscar, and 2 years later I said to my wife, was I any good as Churchill? I was good. Here. I mean, not that that's the mark of it.
Right, but that should give you a free pass. That should let you not worry.
It should let you not worry. But I think that's, I mean, just what keeps, I think, but that's in part what keeps the work fresh, what keeps you going. If you were self-satisfied and sitting there on your, thinking, and there are some people that think they're the shit, don't they?
They're generally shittier, in my opinion, those folks.
Do you know the nicest people I work with are often the most talented and the most successful. It's always the ones. They're tricky. I always find
overcompensating a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
I always find. Yeah. No, it's just part of my makeup, I think. It's my wife's accepted it now. It's you got a question, and I sometimes. I like I say, I have to create some obstacle or something to motivate me to do it, and then I'm rehearsing, the play, and then I'm going, am I going to be any good? Is this a folly? Is this just the stupidest idea I've ever had to just go back on the stage?
Have you kept a diary? It sounds like it would be very depressing to read your entries about all of your work.
Yeah, God, it would be so dark.
Like this actor must suck. You're reading the work, and then you see the work, and like, wait.
I just think a healthy dose of it is good. You don't want to be so racked with insecurity and fear and all of that it then straitjackets you and cripples you. I'm just saying it's a healthy dose of questioning, and that's that thing of what are you most proud of? Next year's work.
Right.
Yeah. That's how I sort of look at it.
Here's a stupid Harry Potter question. Have you ever sorted yourself into a Harry Potter house? Do you know what house you'd be in?
Have I ever won?
Sorted yourself. Like there's Hufflepuff and Gryffindor, Slytherin. Do you know what house you'd be in?
I have no idea.
What do we think? What do we think Gary Oldman would do? So here's some attributes. Loyalty, hard work, patience. Does that describe you?
Loyalty.
Hard work, patience, fairness, dedication.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
Gary Oldman is a Hufflepuff, everybody. It's official.
I'm a Hufflepuff. What is it again? A Hufflepuff. I'm in the bloody movies, and I can't. What is? I'm a Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff.
A Hufflepuff.
A Hufflepuff. We can do this all night if you want.
I had no idea it was a Hufflepuff. Have you ever huffled your puff?
There are children here tonight, Gary.
That's funny. Okay, so that's
that's a good learning we had all together tonight. Have you ever played Call of Duty? Or only inhabited the character in Call of Duty?
Well, my memory of the only memory of Call of Duty is just going into a booth and screaming your head off,
Right.
which they called battle chatter. You've got all the variables. You can go this way, and there's a sniper, the tank, and then if you go left, so you have to give them everything. Everything. Right? But I did. But one of the first ones I did, the very first one I did, I think Keith Sutherland was one of the characters in it. And he came out of the booth and he went, "Man," he said, "I haven't screamed so much since I was married."
Good line.
Good one. No, I've tried to play it.
Yeah.
No, I can't do the video. I mean, honestly and truly, I for the years, I had a VCR that was flashing 12 o'clock. I wouldn't know I would not know how to program the thing, and I can't do the thing. One of my sons is there, Gully, and he, you're pretty handy, aren't you, at the games? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
But you're a Hufflepuff at least. We know that.
But yeah, I'm a Hufflepuff.
I feel like okay,
You've got to
unrelated.
do that with that. You need a voice, don't you, for her?
Hufflepuff. Wow. What do I do with that? Okay, so Tom Hanks says that he's made only 3 or 4 good films in his career. So we've kind of danced around this conversation of kind of like self-flagellation a little bit about your work. When you look at the body of work, you separating yourself hopefully from the actual films. I don't know, what's the canon? What's the Mount Rushmore? What are the films that you put on a pedestal that you've made? Put it another way. I could put it to you this way.
Yeah.
If this film comes on TV, tell me if you watch it or not. You skip it or you watch it. How about that? JFK comes on. Would you stop and watch?
Yeah, JFK. Yeah, I'd stop and watch. Yeah.
True Romance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. For the reasons discussed, maybe not, or
No. Good picture.
okay.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
The Fifth Element. We love it, Gary. We all love it.
Well, let's put it this way. If I was watching it with my wife, Giselle, we'd probably stick around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she has convinced me that it's a better film than I think it is.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know, all I take away from that, it really is I'm contaminated because I was the one who had that haircut. And I was the one who was wearing rubber. So others could experience it in a sort of
You had a
different
very unique
way.
experience.
I get a little triggered
I get it. No, it makes sense. This makes sense.
when I see it,
Yeah.
you know, and I go back to that place of
Yeah.
Jean-Paul Gaultier and rubber, which Bruce didn't like either. You know that orange vest
Yeah.
that he wears in it? He hated it.
Tiptoes comes on. What do you do?
I've never seen it. I wouldn't.
It's a film.
Is anyone familiar with Tiptoes?
Oh yeah. The internet knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Tiptoes, it's an interesting thing because I think I'm right in saying that it was it an actor strike or a writer? It was an actor strike, and was I living in that rental underneath the Hollywood sign? This is yeah. And I had gone through. I'll be very honest with you. I'd gone through a divorce, and a nasty thing with a contractor. And I was in Hollywood. I ended up in California, in LA, 42 years old, single dad, and I was broke. And ironically, I was living under the Hollywood sign, which is, and living in this rental. We had no furniture, thank God for IKEA. Do you remember, Go? You had that little green chair, and I managed somehow to put bunk beds together. And the living room was a TV and a couple of cushions, and no dining table or anything like that. And it was a bit of a rough time. And then on top of that, I hadn't worked for 23 months or more, and that's when we got rid of CAA. And I said, I'm leaving. And they said, why? Why are you leaving? And I said, well, because I haven't had a job for 2 years. That's maybe why I'm leaving.
Call me crazy, but
Call me crazy. And so it was a bit of a rough time, and I needed to pay some bills, and I needed some money, and it was an actor's strike on top of it, which was like a double whammy on top of it all. You know, not poor me, for everyone. It was a terrible time. And then this film came along, this crazy idea from this director that I would play a little person. And I would play Matthew McConaughey's brother. Well, there were several things. First of all, I got locked in to doing a voice like that because I had to sound like Matthew. Right? So we brothers. So somehow I had to sound like Matthew. So that was that. And then I'm on my knees with I got a hump thing, and desperate measures, desperate times, desperate. Yeah.
I had a feeling a bad contractor was related somehow to TIPTOES in some way.
Yeah, and I needed to work, and it was a crazy idea, but would I do it now? No.
Definitely.
Well, now I'm 67. Partly I wouldn't do it now. It's because if I get down on my knees, it's very hard to get back up. I have to get back up. No, but back then, also there was no real backlash. There was Peter Dinklage. We got on famously, and in a way, if you look at it in a positive way, and it's hard to. But if I look at it positively, it was, I helped greenlight the film, so it's my film. I helped greenlight the film, and that meant work for all those other little people who were in the movie. So it was a good thing in that regard, because they were all going through the same thing I was going through, with no work. But it's a misfire, to be sure. It's a misfire. Not one I talk about. I'm so glad you brought it up.
I was gonna say, I'm so sorry I brought it up, and I'm so happy I brought it up. We had such a good run, Gary.
Well, just come on, because it's the last time now.
I'm going to rebound with this. Let me read you.
Rebound with something, please.
You're a Hufflepuff. Remember that. We had good times with that.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
You know what you mean to other actors. Here are just a few things that folks have said. Prepare yourself. Gary Oldman is hands down the greatest actor that's ever lived, full stop. That's Tom Hardy. Jessica Chastain says Gary Oldman is who we all want to be when we grow up as actors. Daniel Radcliffe, he's one of the most brilliant, generous actors I've ever worked with. I was terrified to work with him, and he turned out to be the kindest person on that set. Colin Farrell told me this, actually. Gary Oldman meant everything to me as a young actor. I don't think I'd have pursued the career the way I did without watching him in Sid and Nancy and State of Grace. I mean, you've heard these things before. I'm sure these actors have said this to you. What do you tell them? I'm sure they're looking to you for some wisdom. What do you say when they ask you for the secret code to a life well lived as an actor?
Well, when I worked on the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, one of my heroes was John Hurt, and I'd been there, and I watched John for many years, and I met John on the set, and I remember it very, very vividly. He was outside in a car park, outside the trailer, having a chat with someone, and I remember the car coming around, pulling into the car park, and I could see him from the window, from the car window. And I thought, oh, you know, like I got sort of like fanboy. It was like, you know, and I was so thrilled to work with him, and so, you know, and he was a great raconteur, told amazing stories, and so it was a real gift to have worked with him. And I've worked with some I've been lucky. I've worked with some very, very talented people, including Tom Hardy, who you mentioned, have you seen Mobland? No. I mean, fabulous in it. Fucking hell, he's fantastic in it. And I've worked with Christian Bale, and I mean, a lot of really talented people over the years, different actors that I've worked with. But John always talks about being a link in a chain.
Right.
And I think I like watching good acting, you know. I like sitting there sometimes watching an actor and thinking, damn, I couldn't do that. What they're doing is really amazing. And it's a younger generation of people that come along, and in a way, it's like what John says, you're just the link in the chain. You know, I'm standing on the shoulders of people that went before me that I admire, and were heroes of mine. It is flattering and beautiful to hear that, and to, you know, inspire in a way.
Yeah.
Then the next generation of people that are coming through. The secret to it is there is none. I think luck plays a huge part. I came onto the scene at a certain time, in a certain era. Was fortunate to do Sid and Nancy and Prick Up Your Ears back to back, literally, and that was it wasn't engineered, but in a way it was like a show reel, I could be a punk rocker and I can play a homosexual playwright.
Yeah.
And so that's luck. And that was.
Well, it's meeting the moment. Let's be fair. It's also, yeah.
But then you have the opportunity, and it's grasping the opportunity. When the opportunity comes along, then you have to give it your full commitment. But those people you mentioned are successful. But I often say to acting students or people that want to sort of get into it, it's if you've got a plan B,
Yeah.
you've got to really want to. It's got to be in your DNA. It's got to be in your cells. Because I have been luckier than most, but I've had those periods where I've auditioned and get something, you get rejected, and you've got to have a tough skin. You've got to be able to just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, have some faith that you can contribute, that you have something, and you keep just going forward. And often, and it is what I call. It's going back on stage after 37 years. Move towards the fear.
Yeah.
You've got to go to those, that otherwise it'll suffocate you. You've got to go out on the wire.
So we have more Slow Horses, September 24th, I'm going to remind the folks, is the new season. You're excited about season 5. Anything we should tease specifically about this season? Or we'll just leave them hanging, Gary?
Let me think. Season 5.
I mean, you shoot like 6 seasons. You probably shot 18 seasons already, so I don't know.
Trying to think now. Season 5. I could give you this. Ho has a girlfriend. But someone is trying to kill him. Are they related?
There he is. And so you went towards the fear of returning to the stage. What are you looking for next? I mean, you have more work to do on Slow Horses, but
Yeah.
is there a kind of experience, a kind of filmmaker, a kind of role you're looking for right now?
Well, I had a nice. I've had very good experience with most directors. I particularly enjoyed working with Soderbergh. He did have a lot of fun with Stephen.
Yeah.
And I would. I did. Well, one of my wishes came true. Because I got to work with Sorrentino, and and he's just, and he didn't disappoint. I found he was a beautiful man and wonderful director. I've said this before. I'd like to work with Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah. But most of the career has been I know that my agent and manager over there, they go behind the scenes and work, they're like a hand working a ventriloquist. I mean, I know there's some shenanigans that go on that they don't invite. They always say to me that don't talk about the surgery in front of the patient. I'm the patient.
Right.
So I know that's some skullduggery going on back there behind the curtain, but for the most part, it's not engineered or
That's the illusion everyone thinks, that you control anything.
Yeah, a script comes in
Yeah.
and comes across the desk, and you're intrigued and you read it, and a lot are terrible.
Yep.
And then you get something and you go, the writing and who's doing it, and for instance, True Romance. I met Tony Scott. God bless him, Tony. I met him, and I hadn't read the script, and he literally said to me, he was wearing a baseball cap and those pink shorts that he used to wear, big cigar, and he said to me, I'm no good at telling you the plot or the story, and he said, look, he's a pimp. He's a pimp who thinks he's black. And I said, I'll do it. Mason Verger in Hannibal. I read that character, that creepy character, and I got a whisper that Ridley was thinking about using a puppet or an animatronic puppet to play Mason Verger. I thought that's not one of Ridley's.
One of his rare misfire ideas.
Yeah, he's done some great stuff, but
99% of the time.
not a puppet to play the thing. And so I called him up, and we had a chat on the phone. And at the end of it, he said, "Great, all right. Well, my people will speak to your people." And I remember actually calling Doug and had said, "I've just got off the phone with Ridley Scott. I think he's offered me the part," and he had. It comes in all ways and all shapes and sizes, and sometimes it's a script that you want to chase, and that the team then will chase or fight for your corner.
Right.
Other times it's an offer that just comes in, or a weird conversation with a Tony Scott, or it seems to be the Scott brothers that like to just sort of hand it out on the spot.
Yeah.
But it's like air. You can't. It just sort of happens a certain way, and I've had more than my fair share of good fortune. So.
Well, I'm going to go back to my hotel room and work on my Hufflepuff one-man show script and send it your way.
And remember the voice. You got the voice.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
That's an Academy Award winner for you right there. Spread the good word, folks. September 24th is the date for the next season of Slow Horses, and it sounds like there might be much more after that. Gary, thank you so much for the time. As always, you're the best. Thank you all for coming out, LA. You're the best. Have a great night.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.